Hello everyone, welcome to the Mask Trading's channel. This video is about standard characteristic divergence, theoretically, divergence. We divided into the deviation of gravity trading system and deviation of traditional indicators. Key points. The definition of divergence. The location of occurrence. Auxiliary judgment. Definition of divergence. Simply speaking, the divergence of graving trading system is a comparison of the strength of the entry and exit segments, because the centrals are attractive, when the strength of the exit segment is less than the strength of the entering segment. We call it the divergence. It may be pulled back into the central range at any time. When the strength of the exit segment C is less than the strength of the entering segment B, then it is the deviation and could pull back into the central range at any time. Starting at A and ending at C is a standard divergence. Compare the strength of the entry and exit segments. For the gravity trading system, according to the classification previous mentioned, there is only one central. We call it consolidation. It is impossible that the divergence occurs after sideway trend. Divergence occurs after the second central, including the second central. Suppose here the sideway trend has divergence at this level. Theoretically, it is certain that it pulls back into the central range movement. As soon as it hits out, it's the divergence, whose exit segment is exactly the divergence. Then it will always sideway trend like this. That is, it will always have only one central. Then it can't come out of range of the second central. Obviously, there is no possibility of a divergence. The exception is no divergence occur after the first central, which has formed a sideway trend. Then it is possible to form the second central, because the first central is consolidation, while two centrals or more is trend, because the stock price is either going up or down. If it is going up, it must be a trend. If it is going down, it must also be a trend. And the trend has at least two centrals. So anytime deviation occurs, it must happen after the second central. In the first central, it is not possible to form a trend, which is up or down. The position of occurrence. In other words, the position where the deviation occurs is segment C. When it diverges, it is certain to pull back to the central. Suppose there is a sideway trend here, and it has deviated at this level. Theoretically, it is certain that it will pull back into the central range. Then that means this segment to this one, the rise is, segment C leaves and divergence. Then it is over. And next, compares the strength. The easiest is to use MACD to help determine auxiliary determination. Using the MACD red and green bars area change, simply put, when entering a segment, it corresponds to the MACD red and green bars. These areas are the same as when exit segments. When the area of the MACD red and green bars becomes smaller, it means that the force of the exit segment is reduced. Then it is possible to pull back to the central. Here B is the entry segment of the central B. Where it corresponds to the area of the red and green columns is this section. And C corresponds to this section. Obviously, the corresponding red and green area of exit segment C becoming smaller. Becoming less means it deviates. Suppose the strength of B is 10, and the strength of C is 5. Obviously, because the central is attractive, a force of 10 pulls an object to the central, and a force of 5 could never escape that. Because a minimal force of 10 is required for it to exit the central, so we must be altered that the divergence must occur after the second central included, which is the segment C. That's why the C segment is also called the deviation segment. And what we are comparing is the size of their corresponding MACD red and green bars area. When it exits the segment C, the area of the MACD bars it corresponds becomes smaller than that of when it enters into segment B. In such scenario, we call the segment C deviates. If not, and the area becomes larger, it means no divergence occurs, so it will go on rising. We can hold and wait for the rise. But generally, there are only two centrals in a trend, and 90% possible that a deviation will occur after the second central. We can follow the standardized formula of the trend that we learned earlier. Standardized formula A plus B plus B plus C. The levels of A and B are the same. Centrals at the same level and in the same direction could. Because the trend is only up or down. It is either up or down. So their direction is the same and their levels are the same. So A equals B, and it would be consolidation if there is only one central. Divergence could never happen after a sideways trend. So divergence could occur after the central B. In other words, divergence never occur in central A. If there is no divergence, the entering segment of central A, the segment A, its strength must be less than the strength of the exit segment of A. In other words, only B is greater than A, segment B could exit. If the B is less than A, meanwhile, B is greater than C too, because B is the entering segment of central B. And if it is less than C, it means the segment C is divergence. If C greater than B, it means there is no divergence, then it continues to form the central. And in what we call the standardized formula, it must be after the second central. B must be greater than C. Join the community to see more content.